I mean, Giants, their back's against the wall after that last game, and you're trying to pull a win against the reigning champs.
Yeah, he's trying to pull a win out after getting perfect gamed. So I mean, why not try something different, right? I do like it in that sense, but the actual pick itself, I'm not a big fan of. I'll explain when we get into game.
Yeah, I'll definitely hit you up about that one. I want to talk to you, though, about how it may match up with this Ivern, who wants to sit in the jungle a little bit more time and can't provide as much early pressure. Meanwhile, Rek'Sai doesn't really have as much of that problem, even if you don't have the damage.
You read my mind, Devin, and as we hit the rift, I have to wonder, how is an Ivern gonna help Flaxish through the early game on this Riven? Trick, on the opposite side, has picked up a Rek'Sai, which is very quick to move around the map with the gank paths. The tunnels can help Expect. There should be enough early game for Expect and Trick to just be able to survive the early game, maybe even pick up a kill on Flaxish if he overextends.
I guess it's really on Knight, like you were saying. It'll be a party in the top lane because he can get there so much faster. But we'll have to see. The line of scrimmage is set right now. Flaxish shows his face. Nick is going to be in for a fun top lane.
I mean, I see what they're trying to do here. They're trying to get like a Riven to be super strong and Snowball on one side, and then a Talia can play on the other side lane, and yeah, everything's great if we Snowball, and then you realize you're playing up against Shen and Ryze and Rek'Sai.
And the people behind that is G2.
And then Ashe, and like, I don't know whether this is the right comp to play what Giants are trying to do into, but let's see how it works.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Reservations, but Giants, I mean, kudos to them for experimenting here, and let's see if it pays off for them as we take our places to start the laning phase. Sven and Mithy are having some fun down bottom side. It's going to be another poke fest down there. Definitely want to keep an eye up top, though. That'll be where we see a lot of action. Flax just trying for those flashy plays, as only a Riven player can do.
Yeah, it's been a long time since Riven was purely meta. There are some players that'll tell you Riven is always meta.
I'm trying to remember the last time I've seen it in Europe, to be honest. Was it Huni?
I mean, Huni played a whole lot, then Riven was actually like seriously meta through 2015 Worlds.
Yeah, that's true.
So there have been kind of these times where Riven was actually, for everybody, a meta champion. But I know Flaxish has played it before. Flaxish is a player that for a very long time has made a name for himself in solo queue and the like. So interested to see how his Riven can perform.
Yep.
Push in the bottom lane has been given over to Sven and Mithy. You can see they're now going to try and push Hikyu and Hustlin away from the tower ever so slightly, but there's not a whole lot of danger of Memento coming down to the bottom side. You know he's still tracking back through his jungle to get some of the camps.
Yes, indeed. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on this matchup, though, up top. Did actually get to confirmation. It was Huni. The last time we saw European LCS Riven, that was 2015
sense.
summer. I mean, Flash is it's big shoes to fill.
That means Huni has had enough time to be semi-finalist at Worlds, then go to North America, then go to Korea.
He's been on a world tour.
Since Riven was played in European LCS.
Yes, so Flaxish, though, is changing all of that right now. But unfortunately, he's not been able to find an opening because it's only level 2. Getting a little ahead of myself.
Riven can like flash on you at 2 and kill in lane. Maybe
he's not even running Ignite, too. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest.
If he'd have run Ignite, that's Flaxish actually saying I'm 1v9ing this game. Teleport is no longer a factor.
Yeah. Well, Memento's going sniffing for some extra jungle camps, just throws down a brush and some vision. Flaxish, it's actually pushed in up top side, so it hasn't actually been the action fest just yet. Memento does get some vision secured for himself. Let's see where else Giants decide to focus their attention. G2 still content to play this one in a controlled fashion, with the bot pushing in their favor.
Trick just going to secure up the bottom Scuttle Crab. Make sure that Giants can't exploit Sven and Mithy pushing on the bot side. Even gets the clean spot with the Scryer's Bloom as well. So Trick now has full information on Memento, means that Expect can do whatever he wants in the top lane, really. Can push out as far, take as many trades against Flaxish, as long as he plays it carefully in his head, is able to read the matchup. Of course, Expect on Shen, you would expect to be able to block out a lot with that W, but of course Riven, a lot of damage comes from abilities as well. Here comes the trade.
Yeah, I mean, Grasply and Dying coming in handy here for Expect, and he throws down the shield, doesn't actually need it as Flaxish is playing back.
It's an interesting one. I was not expecting a Riven to come out from Flaxish today.
It's been one of those days, hasn't it, Stress? All right, back to mid. Knight takes some damage from Perks. Been pretty even on farm in that one. Let's talk a little bit about history, though, because we have a brief moment. Giants used to be this team that we referred to as the Holy Trinity. Their lineup had Smitty J, had Max Lore, now gone over to Rocket, and Knight was still the mid laner.
Yeah.
How do you think this iteration of Giants really stacks up against that?
This isn't so much of a Holy Trinity, unfortunately, for Giants. They have not really had the same amount of impact that we saw from that Giants lineup from summer. Now, granted, it took that lineup a little while to get their footing with Smitty J and Max Lore, and they ended up being a solid team towards the end of it. But so much of the victories before that were Knight going completely ham. And, you know, the analyst spoke about this earlier and a little bit yesterday, where Knight just hasn't really had the same impact that we've come to expect, and the level of play in the mid lane has gone up in Europe. And Knight's kind of just stayed the same. We've seen a couple of games that were okay, but nothing really to write home about. His Vladimir was insane last split. Can't say the same for any of his picks so far in the spring split for 2017.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's really a change priority thing or just the meta's not favoring him as much anymore, but now they got the Riven fights. Flax just gets taunted, especially, well, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, realize it's a lot of damage. Doesn't even use his potion, though. So
no.
He's just going to back away. Obviously, Shen's going to have that global impact over the Riven. So unless Flaxish is like killing Expect again and again and again, there's not actually that much of a lead that can be made without a lot of help elsewhere.
We got to start seeing Knight move up towards the top side if he can't get a roam off. Or Memento's about to hit 6. Maybe that's the time. But they have been, you know, nowhere near that. It's all been playing the vision game, and you need to get a Riven ahead. I'm not sure if Giants want to execute on their plan. Let's see. Trick and Mythy are going to be moving down to this bottom side. Giants spot it.
Okay, there was a ward, very important ward outside of Tribush, that just saved Tiki. He was still moving forward in that lane as Mythy was starting to move down into the bottom lane. So a little fortunate, good ward, able to protect them in the bottom lane.
Now they have been playing the vision game, as we said. So both junglers actually moving towards the bottom side. Some brush on brush. Thrown up by Memento as he heads into the lane. Sven and Mythy are wise to this, though. Just kind of shows his face. He takes a lot of poke for it, though.
Oh, that's a lot of damage, Dan. This is the same kind of thing that we saw earlier from Vitality. Flax is just straight up losing that trade.
Yeah, it's not good.
Earlier from Vitality, them try a lane gank from Joko on Ivern. Didn't place a control ward in the lane. And we just saw the same attempted thing from Memento as he's trying to help his team push the lane out. Just walks over a ward and there's really nothing comes from it. And it's really ineffective.
Yeah,
so.
I haven't seen Memento do that much on this Ivern. Okay, so Mythy does get caught up for just a second. He's able to walk away from the Voidlings, though, as Sven was able to polish them off. Back to business as usual. Pretty massive CS differential in favor of Sven. I sends the arrow. It's going to land on EQ, but in comes Memento and Daisy on the front line. So G2 back right off of that.
Sven did flash out there to make sure he got himself away. The arrow came out. And as soon as they spotted Daisy, it was all about backing from that fight, making sure that they couldn't get caught out. Flaxish has been pushed completely off the wave.
Yeah, I expect is going to be able to shove this in. There was Trick showing his face up top and prompted an instant warning flash out of Giants. They are going to move towards bottom side and look to start trading. Daisy still up and available. And with only Mythy there, it's going to be hard for G2 to push off of this, but we may be in for a tower trade.
Yeah, G2 are just holding Flaxish back on the top side and making sure that they don't die bottom side.
That's a nasty cupcake, man.
Long range cupcake to go with it as well.
It's best kind.
It's not exactly a quick tower take, but with Daisy there as well, they can whomp it down.
Yeah, so they'd be able to finish this one off. So Daisy was tanking. Memento goes a little low, but all the same, curtain call's open. Mythy's going to have to two-step. He takes one shot up to the top. Expect is going to equalize on that tower. Flax's head not backed away. Knight trying to dodge away from the damage of Perks. Not all of it. And really, Expect has not had a whole lot of trouble against Flax. You can see the big difference in game number 1. And this time, honestly, it isn't that different.
Tower for tower trade gives Giants a tower first blood, but they're still fairly far behind with Flaxish losing a bunch of farm top. And you can see that Trick has been faster around the jungle. Memento this time has been in his lanes a little more than we've seen in previous games, but hasn't been able to accrue much of a lead from that. They did get that tower, so that helps them a little bit in their gold deficit, but it's still G2 firmly in control.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what Giants are going to be able to do. I mean, you pick a Riven, you try to snowball the game. It just didn't happen at all. Where's the game plan from here?
The chance to snowball hasn't completely been eclipsed yet.
That's true. We're only 9 minutes in.
The thing. I mean, there is still the option for Flaxish somehow if he kind of picks up 2 or 3 kills in a fight and ends up being super strong. The problem is Expect has a very comfortable setup here in this game when it comes to his itemization, how he's going to sit in the lane, how he's going to be able to control team fights, because Riven, in order to stop Shen ulting into a fight, has to completely put herself in harm's way. And if she ends up under a tower because Expect backs off, then you get taunted, can end up backfiring fairly horribly. So G2 just have more options with this composition than Giants do.
And the option they choose is to move mid, but Mithy actually gets shoved right into tower range. He's chunked pretty low, but they can't finish him off on Giants. That will force G2 to back off the tower as Daisy comes to help clear the waves. EQ heading back towards the bottom side. Things reset.
Yep. Reset. Ivan's sound effects. It's got
so magical sounding.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's refreshing. None of
Normally
this crazy battle sounds.
Yeah.
No, he's just like, I'm gonna make you happy, and now I take your buff. Flash just gets himself red. That'll help.
It will. A little. It just gives him extra sticking power and that extra bit of regeneration up against expecting the longer
stepping forward
form fights. Hustlin flash.
No, good combo right into Hustlin. Perk's just gonna go down. That's first blood.
That's good first blood. Well worked. Hustlin comes out of the lane. They had vision control on bot side for Giants. Nice first blood out of the team.
Yeah, now they can push mid right now, so Perks oversteps a little bit. He didn't have Ghost up and available to him.
Yeah, and of course Perks wanting to run the Ghost rather than the Cleanse. Of course, against Talia, not a whole lot to cleanse off, so he isn't able to get away from any of the crowd control there.
Yeah, so Giants get themselves that first blood. They've actually equalized on gold right now, and if they can keep this pressure up, they might just be able to knock down this tower, but there's just not enough damage, it seems. And with Sven and Mithy here, I think it's going to be difficult to do.
Yeah, it'll be a little more difficult than you would anticipate. I like the Knight came down to the bottom side, though. So this is Knight just throwing extra wards in the bush, make sure Perks sticks around and fights. At this point, Perks kind of already dead because Hustlin, that was a beautiful knockback, by the way. Hustlin still was in range that he could flash in. Hustlin was the one that gets the kill from it. I think they would have liked that to go over to Knight. They kind of need the Riven and the Talia to snowball. But that's a little bit nitpicky.
All the same, he got the assist for now, still working towards finishing his first item here, after the boots, rather, I should say. The junglers will find each other out in the river. Cloud Drake's on the menu, but nobody's really interested in taking it. Instead of eating, Trick is going to run. He's out, he got bound up for just a second. EQ and Hustlin pushing down the mid, so Giants do have some push going for them right now. Question is, will it be enough? Still a little time for that Riven to try and snowball, but there really hasn't been a whole lot of effort from Giants to really make that happen.
And that's because Expect has been playing fairly conservatively when Trick isn't around. There have been a couple of trades back and forth, but generally it was only when Trick was up in the top side that they zone Flaxish away from the wave, push him back and focus on that tower. So it's been difficult for Flaxish to find areas to really capitalize on. So for Giants, this is a better start, a much better start from them than in the last game. Good wall usage allows them to push up to the tower. They have a full cannon wave there.
There's an Ash Arrow, it's tanked by Memento. Trick is looking for the flank. Giants, it looks like they're sensing they might need to back out right now. They dodge the Stranglethorns, and Hustlin turns on to Perks. There's a teleport coming in for Flaxish. See if they take the fight. No, he's going to cancel it.
Cancelled it because Expect finished Stand United, and this is one of the opportunities that Flaxish has now with time alone in the top lane to get something done. He doesn't have a whole lot of time though. Expect would be able to TP, but it'd be a bit of a waste to just TP to defend. He knows Flaxish cannot take the tower on this push, so just runs it up the river.
Flaxish actually staying now as the second minion wave comes in. He knows he's going to have to get out of there, so he dodges away. As expect, the threat of the taunt was always going to be there under towers. Instead, Flaxish is going to head towards the mid lane. Daisy's still available. Giants got their sights set on that tower.
G2 recognized this could be happening though because they saw Flaxish disappear and look towards mid. Now they're going to siege. Flaxish looking for the dive alongside the rest of his team, but it's more about getting the tower here. It's about just threatening the dive, getting the objective and pulling back away.
Yeah, we talked a lot last game about how Giants, they had this kind of siegey composition. This time, it can definitely work that way. But they've got to cover their bases here because Perkz is, free pushing this massive wave of minions on the bottom side.
And that's difficult, though, because G2, they have good global presence along the same time, so every time Giants are making strides and plays to try and take an objective, they get cross-mapped. This time, Perkz gets pushed back away from the bottom lane. It's going to return as a dragon, though. You said it was on the menu. Probably a little better for G2 and their teeth and all that candy that Ivern's leaving for Giants around the map.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You want to be able to wash that out every now and again. So the Cloud Drake is going to give them some speed at 15 minutes into this game. Try and get around the map a little bit faster and avoid, or at least set up on Giants. Make it easier to cross-map at the very least. See what they can get done here. Speaking of that, Ivern.
And they get the tower as well. Perkz stuck around.
Yeah, no answer at that point. Taliad had to back. Void Rush. Trek is just going to be heading into the Wolf camp for now. Putting some vision down. Giants trying to play around here for the vision side. Can't really get too much done. They're hanging on. I mean, the gold is not that different right now.
I mean, considering game one was a perfect game, I'm fairly happy with how Giants are doing right now.
Hey, they got more kills already this game than they did last time.
That's mean. That's mean.
It is,
Fire.
but it's true.
It is. Sometimes I guess the truth hurts.
It definitely does.
But I'm pleasantly, impressed by how Giants have fought back into this. It's a riskier composition with this Riven. Hasn't really found its footing yet, though.
No, it definitely hasn't. How long do you think really Flaxus has to try and snowball ahead, or is he still going to be useful, find a way to be useful later on in the game?
Trying to find a useful way to fit him in later in the game.
Split push Riven.
Yeah, it's not exactly the easiest thing. We found Huni had his uses late in the game of just flashing over Raptors, hitting W on 4 people, somehow getting an instant quadra and walking away.
Well, Flaxus has a solo queue reputation.
Like,
I mean, maybe he can do it on solo queue champion. Yeah, I said it.
Oh, wow.
Anyways. Mithy and
He's
Triggerhead.
just firing shots right now.
I mean, I call it as I sees it sometimes. But Flaxus is not going to be able to go anywhere. Instead, they've opened a curtain call onto Sven, who dodges 1, dodges 2. He can't dodge the candy.
At this point, Giants, they're just trying to take away any kind of record for G2 that they can. I don't want to curse it, but a lot of people right now are tracking how long Sven hasn't died in game 4. I think coming into this game, it was like 40 minutes, so it's feasible that in this game he was going to bypass the last record of it. So Giants just throwing everything at Sven
just
to
trying to kill
him.
Don't give him the record. Oh, man. All right, so Memento is going to be able to get himself a blue buff now. So looking to see what Giants can get done. Perhaps they can 4-1 their way to a victory. Still, it's always tough against a team like G2, but they are hanging on in the gold game. It's very even right now, 2 towers to 2. Just that 1 kill separating. But G2 have definitely been playing the safer game for the most part. And, as you mentioned, cross-mapping, out-rotating, playing the smarter macro game.
Yeah, it's certainly been a benefit of theirs a long, long time in their history. They were pretty good at that last split as well. As were Splice, but they didn't really seem to find the same kind of footing. We'll see them in action as we go through the last part of the group stage, at least in the first time teams meet each other. Of course, from next week, we're going to be seeing cross-group play, which allows us to potentially see that G2 Unicorns matchup if both remain undefeated until that point.
Oh, yeah, that one will be great. I mean, G2, honestly, it is about showing the dominance here, and a perfect game goes a long way to showing that, heading into those cross-groups to say, hey, look, we beat everybody in our group, and it wasn't that difficult.
Is this anything you can do, I can do better? They're going to take turns wailing on Giants for like a perfect game? I hope not.
Well, I mean, Giants might have a trick up their still.
Yeah, Giants are fighting back.
Let's see what they can get done here. It's always tough. It's always tough, but Giants have been able to push them back for the most part. They did lose out on that bottom tower, but the game just seems to have gone into a holding pattern for a little bit.
Yes, it has, but that's good for G2. I mean, they have a Ryze that's looking to scale.
Yep.
You got a Shen that is very comfortable just sitting in the lane, absorbing the wave and pushing it back.
It's not every day you get 20 minutes into the game, and we haven't really talked much about the Ryze, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
But, I mean, always shinier stuff, the Riven, the Talia. But, yeah, Perkz on this Ryze. The late game's going to be very scary for him. He's playing it safe, though. I mean, QSS picked up.
QSS, it's not the earliest of the day, Pyra.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We saw Steelback hit that one right away.
Oh, I still can't quite believe that. But Ash Arrow from the shadows.
They got themselves
It's
a
not
good old
gonna
death rush,
happen.
but they walk away from it on the side of Giants.
Because G2, it would be suicidal to try and realm warp your way up to top river when you don't have full vision control. But they're looking for mid tower. They're going to push them away. Realm warp was used.
So
it's
they
kind
come
of
hustling.
It's
I don't think Trick got the memo, but they scared him away.
Yeah.
So now they can start pushing. Knight is looking to cut them off here with a...
them at least a little.
I should have constructed that one a little bit better now. Perks is in trouble, but not nearly as much as Flaxich. If he can hang on here, it'd be a miracle. He flashes over the wall, sends his ultimate flying. Sven is going a little bit low. The final shot tanked by Mithy. Giants have not been able to find a kill yet, but there are blinking health bars from these duo laners. Trek is trying to hold the line front. Giants, they're the ones who are pushing.
Oh, hang on, he got
Wait a
blasted
minute.
back. Had to jump over the wall with his taunt again. So from what looked to have been G2 setting up a play with the Realm Warp, turns around. The wall usage from Knight forces G2 into a choke, and in came the rest of Giants. So this was a setup trying to get the tower down. Daisy comes out early. Mithy forced out of the fight. Can't really have too much impact apart from on Hikyu, so he goes right onto the damage dealer and forces him back away. Flaxish was right in the middle of the fight, doing as much as he could, but couldn't quite connect. It's actually Hustlin that nearly killed Sven in that engage. Between him and Knight, they got his health incredibly low. Giants deter the push and hold on against G2.
That they have. G2, though, managed to get out of it without losing a man this time around. See what they can get done now. As they clear some of the vision out of their own side of the map, you can see the team's pretty happy to play around the mid lane. G2 still trying to knock that tower down in the mid. Very low, but Sven keeps the wave nice and cleared. And a lot of wards invested around this Baron pit. It's only 21.5, but I guess it's never too early to try and secure more vision around the big purple worm.
Baron control, something we've touted as G2 being so good at. We saw it in game one. We see glimpses of it all the time.
It's crazy to think you go through the first section of your group, or the first run through of your group, and you've only given up 2 Barons, and you've taken more than anybody else. I mean, that is an incredible statistic.
Coming into today, they had 13-2. Now they're at 14-2. The next highest team was actually Giants, funnily enough. When they had,
they've got a couple steals in there, though, too.
They do, actually. They do, which is a funny thing. The next highest team in this group at least, with 9 Barons. Unicorns coming into today, I mean they didn't play today, had 12, but...
Well, we'll see if Giants are going to add into that, but they're going to have to get through this first. Realm Warp is there. Trick has brought Expect with him. In just a moment, Hustlin is going to get taunted up, separated from his team, and they take him out.
What do you know? 22 minutes means they're going to set up for Baron, vision control, push out, probably take mid tower, and then sweep across if they still feel like they can take the objective. But for now, G2, they get another catch. Giants throwing everything at this middle lane right now, trying to hold it. But you can see with the recalls, it's not a Baron focus for G2. They don't feel comfortably ahead enough yet, which I think is a smart option on this one.
Yeah, I think that definitely is the case. So at 23 minutes, G2 have the speed. They have a pair of Cloud Dragons, but they are thinking about the Baron. Giants have been fixated on this mid lane, protecting that turret. Let's take a look at that catch. The fight that turned into a catch once more time.
Yeah, it was the Realm Warp. You never really know if it's somebody actually appearing or not. Perks comes into the side, distracts Memento, and Hikyu and Hustlin dies off to the side from the rest of the team, taking him down. Hustlin still trying to fight for vision control.
Burned a heal off of Hikyu as well. Memento was focused on giving him the trigger seed. Flaxus looking to try and make a play out of the brushes. Chasing out of Expect. Here we go.
Try and get that tanky Shen.
No, it's going to turn back around after the fact. Keep on smacking him. Key burst.
It's going to be a long fight.
It will be a very long one. Expect still has flash, though, and taunts up.
Sven's fight.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, the arrow. That's not fair, man. He wanted the 1v1.
Sven doesn't even move in to try and be there to pick up a kill. G2 just backing themselves away. I mean, you can see what Flaxish is trying to do.
He
just
almost
takes
got
a little while. He did almost get it. A little too little damage off the wind slash.
If he'd had
Didn't
Ignite,
quite get it.
he would have got it. Just saying.
Okay, Devin, I think you can start a crusade to try and get top laners to bring Ignite back instead
you know what? I think I'm going to rescind
And-
my words because I don't want to see
And
that
I think
world.
every coach will be like, no, you just got to take teleport. You can't not have it.
All right. So Giants have been able to at least force Expect off the map for just a moment. He's already back, however, so there really isn't much they can get done with that. Knight is up in the top lane to start pushing away. Let's see what Giants can do here. There's some vision sighting them out in the top of the map.
Giants have done a good job of holding mid lane. It's one of those things where they've just been throwing Talia and Jhin, trying to push mid back out as much as possible. And that man on your screen, Sven, right now has not died in 3 games. The last death of his was in game 1 of their series versus Misfits. So we'll see whether he can close out this series without dying as well.
Well, it wouldn't be a perfect game, but for G2, it's about as close as you are like to get. Still have that gold lead
It's
now.
okay, I'll put the curse on him. It's
Yeah,
fine.
of course. That's how that works. Always 100% of the time. Knight is having some trouble with some plants right now, and they should be able to finish off the tower in the mid. Rek'Sai, Trick is able to take that one out and even whomps Daisy to submission. So now, with the mid tier 1 complete, G2 turn their attention to backing away for now. I was going to say Baron, but they're not going to take it, obviously.
Not quite. Without a pick first, without the right vision control, it's not quite as easy as
I
it's
thought
walking
they'd
over
throw
to
a
in
ward.
this game.
Yeah, not a huge lead for them, but this is typically where we see G2 ramp it up quite a lot. Maybe a little bit later than we could have expected, but they have to be happy with this. They got the super scaling rise. They've got a solid team fight against Giants, who have been unable to get a single kill on this Riven this game.
They've been unable to get a single kill on everybody else.
That's also true.
It isn't hustling as well. But I like what people are doing with Ivern here. Once you assume control of the Baron pit, apart from against Ashe kind of undoes it. You put a lot of the brushes down that Ivern can create, and you force a face check. We saw it earlier from H2K. They actually just backed away completely in the middle of doing it. Forced a face check trick.
They've caught him here. Nether Grasp was
pretty
there. He
tanky.
gets knocked back in. He's got the Shen shield.
shields?
There's a lot of shields on. They just can't finish
get
the
it.
job.
This is the strength of Shen, you know, between that and all these other shields coming through. Oh,
there's the wall.
Perks.
They've got Perks caught, but he's going to try to realm warp out. He's two-stepping everything, and the Ash Arrow is there. He didn't even take the portal, and he might get Knight on the back of it. No, Perks is going down. Flex just has his kill, but he's going to pay with his life.
And Giants, they still have to run. Expect double taunt here.
On to Hiku Memento right now. They shove Trick back into the team. No more shields available, but he's still tanking through the rest of it. The health bars were there. Knight manages to finish him off right now. Expect is going in for another double
watch
taunt.
Sven.
And they just melt down. Knight and Hustlin. So it's a 2 for 3.
That was an awkward fight out of Giants. It looked like they wanted something in that mid lane, and kind of Perks got caught out on the way across. Perks turned, tried to realm warp out, didn't take it, stepped back in, was trying to get out as his Memento, but that's not going to happen from this one. So just
Nowhere safe.
awkward setups from Giants over the last minute or so, and again, it's leading to multiple objectives. Flaxish in behind Sven. This could be it, Sven. Oh, it's been 3 games.
1-2. How do you do? Goodbye. So Sven, unfortunately, his unkilled record is over.
I'm
at the hands
sorry,
of Flaxish.
Sven. I cursed it. It's been
happens
3
to the best
games,
of us,
and
doesn't it, Stress?
he pushes up mid with no support against a Riven with TP.
Still, if you assess the whole damage, I mean, it ended up being like a 3 for 4 if you count all of the extensions and the catches, including Sven. But G2 are still having the map control. Let's see how it all began here.
So it was originally Flaxish catching Perks, and here's how you can see that. Oh, that's
Yeah, we had to
painful.
see that one again.
Ouch. So Knight catches out Perks, and the Realm Warp actually, I don't think, made it over the wall by the looks of it, so Perks didn't really end up wanting to take it anyway.
You said it with awkward fight, though. I mean, this
yeah.
was all over the place.
Yeah, it was an awkward fight. Expect comes down. You can see that the route that Mithi had landed kept Memento and Hustlin in place for a while, and Sven off of the backside was just putting down autos. Memento and EQ made it out, but again, Expect flashing on top of people in the fight with that taunt, ensuring he can lock down further members to try and pick up more kills, and Giants kind of falling apart again, unfortunately. A little bit of fight left in them, more so than in the last game.
That is definitely the case. Yeah, well, in that team fight, I don't think they're really counting the rise encounter, to be honest, for Flaxish, but Giants are definitely finding themselves quite down in the gold game. It's a 4,000 advantage, I should say, and we're getting close to that 30-minute mark. Expect just has so much tankiness right now. The Rise is going to continue to scale up. And Sven, apart from that trip up mid, has been a huge factor in this G2 team.
That trip up mid. Oh, here comes Trick towards it. Yes, Sven has been a huge factor in the wins of G2 historically. You know, started out in Challenger on Origin. Oh, Mithy, everything just used.
Yep, Daisy's up. Knight's isolated from the rest of the team, and they're going to gang up on him and take him down. It's Expect on a rampage as they find Memento from one to the other. The curtain call is open, but it may be curtains for Giants. Trick is tanking shots, trying to polish off Perks will not be the case. And they're playing the dance with the Baron. With Knight down, this is not going to be the easiest for Giants to stop.
Memento's no flash, so it means the only real option is him queuing in.
Flax is just going around. Trick a little bit low.
Connect and smite, so Trick turns back out of it. They feel a little too low. Baron still had 4K health.
Now
Trick,
they're just
no
chasing
flash
Flaxish.
either.
Okay, he's backed off for now. They did stop the Baron, though. So G2 don't get to walk away with that one for free. They still got the fight that they needed to start this going, and now there's going to be an Infernal Dragon on the map next. Well, we're not talking about that because Flax is trying to be the hero, but Trick's got Mithy to back him up.
Yeah, he's trying to be. You can see how much damage he's got as we're getting into these situations where small numbers skirmishing around are fairly effective. But this is the fight around Mithy trying to connect here, trying to just get everything as they can. Like Shen ulting onto him just to get into the fight. They take out Knight to start it. Continue on towards Memento, who has really struggled, honestly, in this series. Has not found his footing on the Ivern. Been a little underwhelmed by it. We've seen a whole bunch of Kha'Zix out of him, but opting not to go for either in either game.
Perks with the fake out Realm Warp to just push him back. You're right, it has been Memento not looking so comfortable on this Ivern, and he's very crucial to the Giants team. Like, in their victories, he does seem to have such a huge hand in it, and I wonder if this isn't part of the mind games. You leave the Ivern available, you find a way to outplay it. G2 have done it once, now twice.
Yeah, I mean, Memento had a couple of fights where he went crazily off with Kha'Zix, getting triple kills
and he even could have gotten it last game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he could have, and hasn't really had the option to this game. Obviously, it was banned. G2 controlling, you can see what exactly the vision is like. Trick and Sven just
got so much damage.
Down.
They can two-man this. Daisy's going to make a token effort. The wall is going to come out here. Sven's going to get bopped into the pit. Meanwhile, Mithy being chased down by Flax just around the side, who takes him out. The Baron is taken,
Sven
but it was
died.
secured by G2 Esports. But Giants a little bit low here, going to try to find Trick, who flashes. He goes through the tunnel. Flaxish flashes to follow him. And now the curtain call's open. Trick is going to try and open. He can't get out of town. And Flaxish might just be able to finish him off. Trick is limping away from it now. Baron secured, but at what cost? Dual laner's gone down, and now the jungler denies the kill. Oh, Flaxish, he wants it. He finally gets it with a key burst. And Giants turn on mid, but now it's not over. Giants finding Expect to just run into them. EQ with the big shot onto Perks. They could get aced here right now. This is turned around.
The Giants have turned this around. I was about to say that the key thing, despite as good as it looked for Giants, was the fact G2 got 2 members out with Baron. Now they only survive with 1, but it's still on their Shen. Expect has that now for the side lane pressure if you want it, but that was much better out of G2. Oh, EQ, good reaction on that one.
Fast fingers on that flash. Okay, so Giants assessing the damage report they did to G2, they managed to knock off all but one Baron buff and then get a tower in mid. Let's see it again.
So Flaxish decides he's just getting kills. He's just going for Mithy. Doesn't matter who it is. He's just adding to his score.
Hey man, that's how you play Riven.
He's got to play for KDA at this point. And from there, you can see Trick kind of kiting 3 people up. Flaxish, given a massive run around here. He uses his flash
ult
early.
interrupted.
We're back to live though because Shen, look at Flaxish in the lane behind him. Try Bush is where he's standing.
There we go, but Mithy's going to be there. Expect is going to be hard to take down. Let's see if the Giants can get the collapse. They get onto Expect right now, and they have knocked him left, right, and center. A big shutdown. That's 5 kills on the Riven.
And that's the Baron buff gone. Riven has finally found a spot where the damage is starting to add up. The small number skirmishes are going more in G2's favor, and G2 haven't been able to combo this Ryze, this Shen, everything that should be working together to keep each other alive has not been able to plan out.
Yeah, Giants are making it work for them right now, and they've been able to push G2 back. It's still a tough game for them. They're still down a little bit of gold, but they have a chance to maybe take out this Infernal Dragon. And honestly, Flaxish on this Riven, he has seemed to get a little bit better going on. He's gone all in on the lethality, which is scaling up.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're on 7.2, lethality buffed, Edge of Night buffed.
And now they got 8% AD and AP. So Giants, I mean, they've really started to pull this turnaround.
Yeah, it's starting to turn around. It's still in G2's hands if they get one good fight where they get the Ash Arrow or the Stranglethorns with Ryze coming in, Shen shielding. They've got enough tools, but the last few minutes has been scrappy by them. G2 getting ahead, being in situations where they're caught out. Perkz trying to 1v1 a Riven, getting caught in the river has kind of slowed everything G2 was trying to do. Their Baron buff is gone. We've got a good few minutes before the next one spawns. Elder Dragon's 5 minutes away still, as we only just saw the Infernal Drake go down.
Yeah.
So G2 don't have a whole lot of options on the map, and they're playing into a composition that can punish and overextend fairly heavily.
And we actually have seen a lot of that out of Knight and Hustlin in particular. They've been able to orchestrate these good catches. And you know, this is a far cry from the perfect game G2 played last time around.
Yeah, it's a very far cry. I completely agree. Doesn't look like the same team. Yeah. They still got a good lead.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they're going to be able to get another tower down here. I mean, they're still cross-mapping, but can Giants punish them for it? Looks like they're just not reacting fast enough.
Not with Knight pushing out mid at the same time. They just want to shove it back. You can see how low mid tower is as well. Top tower they can cross up to after getting mid. So although, yes, it is still an inner tower for an outer tower exchange, Giants are keeping the gold fairly even this late into the game. And you know, this is a lot later than G2 have been taken a lot of the time. Right now, Giants doing a good job against them.
That's absolutely true. Giants looking to push in to finish this top. They sent out the root caller, and all of G2 are there to try and respond. So they're going to keep their tower alive up top.
And normally by this point for Giants' losses, at 30 minutes, they've been averaging a gold deficit of 6,600 gold in losses. We're now well past that 30-minute mark, and they are only 3,000 down, which is a considerable improvement on their norm.
Yeah, all bets are off, to be honest. Giants have, you know, shown that they can definitely break out of that mold, and they're taking it to G2 at the moment. There's still a lot of work to do if they want to get a win here and force a game 3. Knight is going to get interrupted. Okay, he's got the shield on him, but that's a lot of burst. They were still dishing out. Double knockup, Memento. In comes Flaxish around the side. Looks for Sven, but he's not able to capitalize on it. And he's taken out before he can do a damn thing. Curtain call's opened up, but Perkz is running into the front line. Giants in group for it right now, and they have got to bail out. Expect is going to taunt flash right into Hikyu. Perkz gets him down. 3 members of Giants trying to limp away, but Mithy flanking around the side. He gets the root. Hustlin turns on to Mithy, who manages to take him out, but they're going to trade support for support. It is a 2-for-3 fight. Sven goes very low, but he lives.
Sven lives. G2. Memento didn't quite connect on it. Perkz has got no summoners.
Knight's on him. Oh, just misses.
A little bit more damage coming through from Knight this late into the game. Perkz not finding a lot of it himself. A lot of obstruction in these fights preventing him from getting damage down on this Ryze, which has been somewhat of a signature pick for him. Outside of Exile, Perkz has been one of those players that has played a whole lot of Ryze. This time, Ash Arrow barely whiffs. Then they throw the Rift Realm Warp in after. Perkz stuck between the wall and the terrain, couldn't get himself free, but was trying to get damage down.
But they
in the meantime,
Flaxish.
Yeah, they destroy Flaxish. And when 5 kills from your Riven are just instantly gone out of a fight, somehow you end up with no more damage. Expect has been on point with his Shen in this series. The taunt flashes, always landing.
Yeah, and here's where you equalize on supports.
Yeah, that was Mithy dying to Hustlin. Now Sven dropping incredibly low from that, but look at how much work Knight did.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say Knight is definitely making use of this Talia. And if he'd managed to knock that shove onto Perkz, he would have had one more kill to add. So he's definitely still has some damage available to himself. It's not all on Flaxish and Hikyu, to be honest.
The numbers disappeared before I could do a full total, but Knight did just about as much damage as G2 combined in that last fight. Yep.
Curtain call. Perks is going to be out. Mithy's taking shots at the curtain call, though. Last one. Trix is going to absorb it. So they force them back for just a moment. Expects on bottom side. Let's see if Giants can clear some of this vision out of the Baron pit, because remember, it's back up and live. There'll be an Elder in just over another minute as well, so objectives are coming back to the Rift. And
you can see a lot of this now is the mental game of G2. This now feels like it's turned against them because Giants have started up the Baron.
Flaxish is waiting around the backside to see if he can intercept on the Trick. There's the wall thrown up. It's gone low. Trick is looking for the steal. Knight is going to get stopped in just a second. They're delivering Shen with Trick through the submarine. They get the taunt on, and now Flaxish was caught with his pants down around the backside as Expect picks up Hustlin in the blink of an eye.
Miscommunication. Like, Flaxish actually got blocked by Talia's wall for a large portion of that fight. The minions have taken down mid lane at the same time. G2 stopping the Baron attempt out of Giants may even turn around and set up the vision control for themselves and dare Giants to come for another fight when they don't have their cooldowns available.
It's going to be so hard to try and break through this G2 squad right now. They're shunking down the Baron. A miracle steal would be what Memento needs. Can he go in on it? No, he's too late.
A little late.
And now he's caught in the pit. The Realm Warp's coming around for the back. G2 are sensing that their time is now, but they don't need to hurry it up. They're content taking down Memento, and this time they do make it out with all the Baron buffs.
G2 thinking their time is now. Well, Giants, they couldn't see the Baron buff in time. Trying to get Memento over, it just wasn't quite enough. And G2 securing another Baron. Insane. I believe that's Baron 16 for G2 this split, while only giving away 2.
And they get themselves an Elder Dragon to top it off. That'll give them a little more effectiveness, a little more speed, and some regeneration, as well as that burn. Flaxish up in the top trying to push the minions away, but Giants are running out of ground here. What looked promising for them for a bit, 41 minutes, has taken a turn that they are not happy with.
Yeah, it's taking a turn that is seriously not happy with. Sorry, you put a couple of lines that coincidentally are like the biggest John Cena implication, like
yeah, no kidding.
Implied pun that you didn't mean to. And I'm just here laughing to myself.
Well, I'm glad I can give you a giggle every now and again.
Some people out there understand the significance between you can't see it and all that in 16, but it's okay. Giants right now, they see G2 looming around the base, pushing in. It's going to be mid tower going down again. Realm Warp used just to deter. You've got to back away from that. There's Giants standing there waiting for somebody to arrive.
Yeah, zoning ult. They take out the inhibitor with ease. They've cracked the base here. Setting their sights on the bottom. Expect had been leading minions that way. There are a few wards behind G2's position, but there's really no trouble right now as Giants, they seem cowed. There's just no way they can fight this, it seems to be the case. Short of a miracle play by Flaxish, he's had a couple of good moves this game, and he's gotten back out of the laning phase. Perk's now caught in the curtain call. He tanks 1, he tanks 2, he has shields, but he tanks 3. The 4th goes wide, and Knight's looking to finish him off. He doesn't have flash, and he can't get it done. Meanwhile, the base is broken again.
Yeah, G2 just continuing on the bottom side. I don't think Daisy's going to be enough to deter them from getting the inhibitor.
There's the wall.
The wall is going to block G2 in for a moment.
I mean, but it was just Daisy that was taking the fight. So the arrow comes in, it nails Memento for now, and G2 get a second wind to push into this tower to try and close out this series. Very different game from their first. From a perfect victory to 43 minutes, 11-11 in kills. But they're shoving in on 3 lanes.
Yeah, G2 gonna ramp this one up. Top lane. This tower still remains. And Giants will be able to hold mid tower for now, at least their Nexus towers for now. But this has been a less clean game than the last one, but still fairly controlled out by G2. They've held through Flaxish's attempts on this ribbon for the most part. And as long as they don't let Flaxish catch Sven or Mithy, they should be able to round this game out.
They keep running them around the map. I mean, even when there's nothing but base, they're cross-mapping at this point. So G2 are, they're closing this one out as clean as they can be after the game went a little chaotic. Last inhibitor was going to fall in Giants' base. They're down to 1 Nexus turret, and even Daisy's running away. No, turns back around. They can't get the shove combo onto anyone. Finally smiting Daisy.
It's an all-or-nothing
Flashes.
fight.
Oh, he's going in for Sven. Not gonna be enough. They turn on that, and the hero play goes south. Now Perks is gonna get a Stand United shield to turn the rest of them back to Fountain as Trick picks up a double here. Perks hanging tough. Not anymore. He's taken down, but G2 are gonna get the game. G2-0. And they close out of their group without dropping a series.
G4 and 0.
Yeah, definitely. I cannot wait when these guys face off against the Unicorns. That's going to be explosive.
Yeah, I want to see that matchup as quick as possible. Like game 1, you can't get better.
Game 2, you can.
Game 2, you can.
But they closed it out. They did what they needed to do. They halted the Riven plays. And you can see it right at the end there. Wasn't much left to do.
Oh, Flaxish knew he was so close to getting that kill on Sven at the end. May have been enough to be a difference maker, but I mean, that shows a lot of fortitude to pick up something like a Riven against the group leaders when you just lost a perfect game. And although the pick didn't have the success that Giants would have liked, 5-3-1 in the game, a couple of key plays from Flaxish. It wasn't a perfect setup for him, but it could have gone a lot worse.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Giants put up a hell of a lot more fight in game number 2, and I got to give them props for trying something like this. Knight was pulling a ridiculous amount of weight as well, and honestly had some fairly clutch Weaver's walls, but then there were a couple that maybe a little bit miscoordinated, and Flax just being caught on the wrong side of that, unfortunately for them, gave G2 a lot of advantages.
Yeah, it did. It gave them too many fights that back-to-back went in their favor. Really actually impressed by Expect in this series. We were talking about him being a weakness, a point perhaps that could be easily exploited. Yeah. His Shen was really good. In team fights, yes. The controls, multi-person catches, holding his own and, backing away from waves when he knew there was the possibility to get ganked.
Absolutely.
Good setup.
Absolutely. Great job from Expect. But for more on G2's win, Quickshot is on stage with Mithy.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Mithy. Congratulations on the 2-0. Congratulations on sweeping your group in the first round robin. Let's start with game 2. Why was it so close?
I think we told Trick to leave us bot and just we knew that Iron was coming bot lane and we had a really huge advantage bot, and instead we told Trick to just take his camps from top side. And instead what happened was that we traded sides and it didn't really work out as planned because we had an advantage bot and we could have snowballed through that. And we also thought that Riven was going to be much more useless later in the game. So we thought that if we starve him, then it's better for us because we weren't even losing anything from losing bot tower, just the whole map being more open. Yeah. So yeah, it kind of we planned it ahead, but it didn't work out how we thought it would work out.
Yeah, it definitely looked away a little bit messy towards the end. That Baron fight's definitely catching everyone by surprise. Let's talk about the first game. That's the first perfect game that we've seen in Europe since spring 2016. Is that something you were aware of in the game, or was that just a happy accident?
I think it was a happy accident. Someone mentioned it at some point, when we were ending, everyone was like, oh, perfect endgame, and that's when I realized myself. But I think we didn't really have it in mind when we were playing. It could have gone in a much way worse way. When we fought mid, we were stronger, so the fight was fine, but it wasn't really in our terms, so we kind of screwed up there, but it ended up being a perfect game, so it was all good.
What feels better for you, Mithy? A perfect game for the first time in a year, or going 4-0 in the first time facing all of your opponents in Group A?
I mean, I've always had the same mindset where I really don't care about the split in itself because of my time in Lemon Dogs where I won the split and then lost at playoffs. So I'm keeping that mindset. Yeah, I'd rather just have clean games. I think the perfect game, even though it was perfect, we didn't really fight on our terms on the fight that won us the game, so we can still play better.
I'm really, really happy to hear that. I'm looking forward to seeing whether or not G2 will play better. Next week, you guys are doing some cross-group games. It's the first time we're going to see that. H2K and Roccat. What's your opinions on H2K, seeing how they lost to UOL last week? And, what are your predictions for that series?
I think it's fair to lose to UOL. They are the strongest teams, and they had probably the best grasp in the meta. Maybe they still do have it once the new patch comes in, because they were playing Warwick and so on. So I don't underestimate them because they lost to UL. I think that they are a very strong team and their bot lane is very smart. We have scrimmed them a lot, and I just hope we can pull through and win.
I want to ask a question about that. You've scrimmed them a lot. Now, this is the first time that we're going to see cross-group play here in Europe. This is the first time that now all of a sudden your scrim partners now become your opponent partners, so or your opponents on the Rift. How does that dynamic impact your preparation going from week 3 to week 4 onwards?
I mean, it's the same as before, right? Like, nothing really changes, just that, I mean, the best thing about this whole system is the fact that you're playing best of threes. I think that's like, it's really amazing that you can actually play a series and not just like split games, even though maybe that hurts us at Worlds again because we're playing best of ones, but we will see. I think that it doesn't really affect us. Our scrim partners, like our scrim schedule obviously changes between week and week because sometimes you face your own group, sometimes you face people from other groups, but at the end of the day, like as long as you get to practice what you want to practice, it doesn't really matter who you play against.
Okay, it doesn't matter who you play against now. You're not going to face UOL for a couple of weeks. Who would win if you were to play UOL today, and why?
It's hard to say because we play a lot more. I mean, everyone can see that our games on stage are a lot more systematic than they are in scrims. In scrims, we usually, like a lot of people get caught. I think there's not like 100% focus, even though we try to be. Like we test a little bit more of our limits, so there's some like a lot more deaths. So when we play against UL and they basically just embrace the whole 1 million deaths meta. So they usually come out ahead. So judging from scrims, they would probably have like a small lead, but I think we would have a good. We would just be good at adapting on stage, so I think it would be close. It would be close.
It would be close. I like that. Not willing to 100% say you would win, but leaning towards it. Mithy, one last question. Let's step back. We've talked a lot about now looking forward the opponent teams. How has the G2 gaming house changed? Now you've got this additional support staff. I was watching Sharks and Youngbuck backstage really discussing Game 2 quite heavily. So explain to me how the coaching staff and the additional support staff is impacting G2's play.
Well, it was explained somewhere. Sharks basically helps Joey with whatever he's doing, and they try to improve each other. And then Weldon is doing the same too, but at the same time, he is giving us a little bit more of like, he's just pet talking us and giving us like some insight into a little bit of like sports psychology. I don't want to call it sports psychology, or he doesn't want to call it sports psychology. I don't really.
It's just mindset,
maybe
right? A healthy mindset, being in a good like
basically
mind space.
just being in a good mindset for the games and like towards improving and so on. So I think between the three, they kind of criticize each other and they make each other better, and we also criticize them a lot. Yeah. So
who criticizes you, Mithy?
I criticize myself the most, and then from there on, I think my teammates, and then my coaching stuff.
Okay, good. That's what I like to hear. Hopefully Sven gives you a lot of trouble. Mithy, congratulations not only on the game today, perfect game, and of course the 4-0 for now. That does it for me here with Mithy. We're going to head over to the post-game lobby. Dracos, take it away.
Thank you very much, Quickshot, and welcome everyone to the post-game lobby, where we're going to look back on today's games. I'm, of course, once again joined by the same people as the last segment. Surprise, surprise, no mix-up here. It's Deficio, Alfari, Daku coming in to back me up in this one. And I want to start by taking a look at that last game in the series. We hadn't had a chance to cover it yet. Of course, Game 2, Giants versus G2. I think we can safely say completely different than the first game. Riven comes in. We thought it was going to be bad, but it feels like it kind of worked out.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it was better than expected.
Yeah, it was better than expected.
We saw your tweet.
Yeah.
Called out the Riven instantly. I was ready to reply when we were like 45 minutes into the game if Giants had won, being like, oh, you're wrong. But what would you have liked to see different from that Riven?
I mean, I think the main problem with this Riven pick is that it's just so weak for team fighting versus like a Ryze, a Zyra, a Rek'Sai. These champions that can just easily CC you. I think if they want to go for a Riven, like late game, you need to have a QSS or at least Mercury Trez. Try and mitigate the CC that you can actually not get one shot like, as soon as you go in. Because you saw like later on in these team fights, you just go in, like get hit by like a Ryze W for 2 seconds and he's gone.
Well, we did see, of course, I mean, one of the big moments, of course, was one of those team fights at Baron or around the Baron area for Giants, where we did see the Riven be effective. And it was kind of at this point that we started to question. The Deficio was ready to respond to your salty tweet sarcastically, but of course, Riven not in the team fight this time, instead fighting on the back line.
Well, I think I don't know if it's so much the Riven pick here as much as it is just Mithy kind of mispositioning at the start of this fight. Like there was really no reason for him to be there, and he got one-shotted, and it's just messy from G2 really. Like, yeah, the Riven pick is nice for chasing and, you know, doing damage, but realistically, in a 5v5, it shouldn't happen.
I do respect them picking the Riven, because like, I know we talk so much about simple comps versus hard comps to execute, and obviously Riven compositions kind of fall under the hard one. But the fact that you lose first game is like perfect game. You feel like it's really hard for you to do anything to like win that second game, and you try and throw that big like curveball. If Riven was the correct choice, you can argue against. Like, as a coach, do you also agree with this philosophy of like throwing out some of these completely new picks if you feel like you're an underdog?
I don't, because I think if you're the underdog, your goal during the split is just to improve as much as you can. So I would say take this opportunity to play the best team in the league and see how you can, you know, shore up with them on regular picks, because it's so much easier to see macro mistakes after that when you're used to these specific picks. So, like, for example, if they had Rumble or Trundle, Trundle can do a very similar role to what Riven was doing that game, can just split push, and you could see how you played the 1-3-1 wrong. Or the 4-1 wrong. With Rumble, you can see how you play team fights wrong, or where you should have TP'd. Like, you can improve so much more as a macro team if you just play the regular picks. But I feel like with Riven, you lose out on that opportunity a bit.
Yeah, Riven, of course, very lackluster. And while we did get to see some Riven highlight moments, obviously a very solid score in the end, there was that crucial team fight where Riven, kind of as expected, with no tools to block the CC, just got popped immediately.
Alfari actually yelled during this fight, "This is why you need QSS!" As soon as he jumps in, and he's gone.
There he goes.
Yeah,
Slowly but
Bryce
surely, takes a couple seconds there on the shutdown, but of course that's the disastrous setup. Riven, not quite the tanky Mao guy. Definitely does not want to go in first. And once again, an exciting pick to watch, an exciting pick to see, but at the end of the day, just when it's coming in through the front, when you see it coming, it just does not feel very impactful.
Nah, and again, G2 had a good comp to also deal with it in fights. Idea obviously was that Riven would kind of try and win the side lane split push. Problem was G2's composition as well. Like, it's not just Shen global. There's also Rek'Sai global. There's Ashe Arrow, which is fantastic against teams who wants to try and split push, like force fights, especially around mid lane. And then also we had one more pick, I forgot, Ryze as well. Obviously winning the other side lane against Talir. So it was never 1-3-1 from Giants. It was more like, can Riven win on her own on the side? Otherwise we have to team fight our way out. And then Riven is obviously way weaker than most tanks. And that's kind of one of the issues for them.
Well, of course, after a perfect game as well, we're going to award player of the series, but it was kind of a big team effort across the board for G2, but Expect is going to win it out in the end. I think that second game, really an amazing Shen performance for him, mitigating any advantages the Riven could have had. So I'm curious how far Riven, Shen, I mean, is the Shen expected to win out here? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think Shen should fall behind. Like, once Riven gets Black Cleaver, he should be able to like win pretty handily 1v1, but he's never going to do that this game. And Shen's just like much better for team fighting, for making plays both side, and Expect had like pretty good taunt flashes this game, so I guess he deserves it.
Is Expect the best top laner in Group A, or are you the best top laner in Group A?
I'm better than him.
Boom.
I like it.
I like how you don't even include anyone else in the picture. You're like, these two.
All right. I mean, who else right now?
Of course, it wasn't all Group A. Well, I mean, there's no one else right now. I don't know. I agree. All right, I'm pulling back. Now, of course, the early series we saw today was H2K versus Vitality. That one, I'd say not quite what we expected going in, but at the end of the day, it was that H2K victory. I want to take a chance to talk about it once again for those of you who missed out on viewing it live. Now, Vitality did start off pretty strong here, and things went downhill pretty quickly. So what do you think we learned from both of these teams watching this series?
I think from H2K's end, I still think their vision needs to improve quite a bit. Like, in the middle late game, they still seem kind of lost on like how to efficiently close out the game. Alongside that, they had target selection issues last week, and they still seem to have that. And it's kind of disappointing that it hasn't improved over time. And I hope they work on it, because this team has the potential to be really good. But these team fights just aren't playing out the way they're supposed to for them.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this during the game. How H2K will have like 2 or 3 really good fights where it's like, all right, everything is working, and then when they're actually in a goal lead, they have like this one fight, but it's over chase. One guy gets caught out. This was a fine play by Vitality at first, but then they obviously invest everything on one guy and get MF ulted as well. But this like inability for H2K to kind of execute every team fight is an issue. Like, they just over chase. That's what I'm at least seeing in these games. Not sure if you guys agree on that, but it happened quite a few times. Like Piven would like Valk in, and then he would get caught.
And it's something we talked about on the desk as well. Is it was just a constant series of over chases from both sides. Vitality finding leads, throwing them away on over chasing, or over committing especially in Game 3 to win a composition where you weren't going to find a pick-off against an Ivern and a Shen. And it was kind of a similar story back and forth. Of course, H2K throwing a few of those team fights. And it really wasn't the clean gameplay expected from H2K or the one that we can kind of idealize to come out from Vitality in the end.
But do we actually expect clean gameplay from anyone in week 3 of a spring split?
From either group, or?
I'm just saying, like, overall, because like most teams are kind of, they make roster changes, they figure out stuff, new meta and everything coming into the spring split. Week 3, is that too early to actually say, like, why are you not executing cleanly right now? That normally comes later around playoffs.
I think for the rosters that stayed the same, I'd expect them to at least have much cleaner games than the other ones because the communication system should just carry over. So for G2 and for Splice, I expect a lot more than, I think at least for Splice from what we've seen.
Yeah.
And then even G2, like the second game was not as clean as it should have been. So for those teams, I think you can argue that, yes, they should be much cleaner games. Even if it is week 3 of the new season, they still have all the tools transferring over. For the newer teams, I can understand if just, time for growth, it's the same for us, but we'll see.
I'd be curious to see as well. Of course, we've now finished our series for the day. Let's take a chance to look at those standings and to see how they're shaping up. Of course, G2 playing their final series does win out. Now, securing first place, placing themselves above you guys safely in second after the first round robin. We'll see how Fnatic does and if they can pass up Giants. But is there anything that really stands out to you here that was surprising after some of these teams have now completed their first round robin?
Unicorns of Love being first place in Group B is a bit surprising, and Splice being 1-2, also quite surprising.
I think the Splice one is the big one because I expect a lot more from them than what we've seen. Like, their teamwork is what they were praised for last year, and I think that's weirdly enough where they're falling apart these days. It just seems like sometimes they're not on the same page, and so maybe it'll get better as we go on. Of course, it's still week 3. Maybe they're out of practice. I don't know, but like for Splice, I think they really need to step up for what's expected of them from Group B.
And now we have the games tomorrow, and then obviously from next week it's the cross-group play. You guys will start playing Unicorns, Splice, H2K, all these different teams. Anyone specifically you're looking forward to play?
I think Splice and H2K will both be fun to play, or also Unicorns of Love, obviously. Like first in their group, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think Group B is just a lot of fun to play against, to be honest. All the best teams are there.
Group B feels really chaotic.
Except for G2.
Except for G2, it's actually true.
Absolutely. Now, of course, let's take a chance to look at those games tomorrow. You brought them up briefly, but as we look at tomorrow's schedule, I'm kind of curious to see how these next couple matches will unfold. Will give us a better picture of how the groups are going to stack up. And it seems to me that we have some pretty safe assumptions on who's going to come out on top here. Do you guys see any potential for upsets?
I think maybe Roccat could beat Fnatic, like at least maybe take one game. I think it's kind of realistic. Maybe even take the series. I'm not entirely sure, but I think there's definitely the potential there.
I think I just want to see like if Fnatic fixes the draft or the champion pool issues, because we did get away with that in our series against them. I didn't like the drafts much, and it seems like they didn't play the champions that are strong on this patch. So if they can fix that for Roccat, then I think they'll be in a good spot. But otherwise, there is an upset potential there.
Yeah. Curious to see how it unfolds. Of course, we'll find out tomorrow. But other thing that happened today is we saw an interview with Prawley, and he brought up kind of that the Shen Ivern comp was the quote-unquote easy composition, right? That it was like the simple composition to play, that it had this inevitable scaling that you were sure to win if you could take it to late game. And I was curious how you guys felt about that, and if you think that's accurate given the current meta.
I'm not sure if Shen is like a free win late game, but I definitely do agree with Ivan being like by far the best scaling jungler at the moment. So whenever you have Ivan, typically going to win late game because it's just like the shields, redemption, locket. It's just so hard to team fight against it.
The only downfall I feel like we see with Iron comps is in case they don't have enough damage. But again, with the current AD carries being used, like Corki mid, these kind of things, you almost always have enough damage. I think once we saw a comp where they ran like double physical damage, they were against the Shen themselves and they had Iron and they just kind of ran out of damage because Shen could block so many of the autos. But apart from that, the fact that Iron literally gives tankiness to squishy members and at CC as well, it makes the carries too strong, almost, that they have so much extra HP.
Sorry, I think one thing that goes unnoticed is that it's not just that it's easier to play in-game, it's very easy to draft Iron comps as well, because it seems to fit in almost every single type of play. So even if teams are poor at drafting, if they just pick up the Ivern, they will probably have a cohesive comp regardless, and a comp that'll scale well into mid and late game. So they can make mistakes in drafting and get away with it, which I think is a huge strength of the pick as well.
Is it easier to punish in scrims, where people might invade early compared to on stage? Or is that exactly the same in scrims as well?
Well, I think the new pick that Trick pulled out, at least in LCS, Graves, worked pretty well against Ivan. I think champions like these, which can kind of can be uncontested in the jungle, like when invading, versus Ivan are going to be particularly good against Ivan. And I expect we'll see more champions like this in the future versus it. That's like more teams think about what's good against it.
So do you think this is just a kind of a matter of adaptation for the Ivern pick? It is still relatively new. You think in the next couple of weeks maybe we'll see more teams with an answer to the pick and it will be less powerful overall? Or is it still something that you absolutely have to be willing to like kind of shut down in the pick fan phase? Maybe ban away, maybe pick it as a priority just to take it off the table?
I think for the next few weeks, you probably have to think about it like very heavily when you're planning pick and ban. But as teams get better at snowballing early games, for example, or playing split push or poke, like these different variations and compositions, then I think you'll see Ivan fall off a bit. But right now, for the most part, everyone's trying to play team fight. There's very few teams that are trying split push. G2 played 1-3-1 today, and it was excellent in both games. So that's where I think Ivan will eventually fall off.
And most other teams who actually try to play split push would lose. Like we saw Fnatic yesterday try and do it with like Zed and so on, and it is really hard to execute, especially with the new rosters where communication is an issue, because like 1-3-1 comes, every single lane is talking like all the time, they're all pressuring together. And when that falls short, well then the Ivern comp is just the superior one.
Well, it's good that you bring that up, because the other thing that probably discussed was kind of that he didn't want to play this comp, which he considered easy, because he wanted the team to play more complicated things, save the easy comps for the games that really matter later in the season, or a team that you want to save everything for. Do you think that's a viable strategy here in the early weeks, where you should just be trying to play the most difficult, the most complex kind of composition to force the team to develop more, or should you just be playing what will net you wins?
It depends if you're a bottom team or top team. I feel like if you feel confident you're going to make playoffs, I respect the whole let's try and play more complicated things and then realize all our mistakes and use these mistakes to then improve later. But if you are, let's say, Giants or Rocket, and you're really fighting to try and get out of relegation and sneak into playoffs, I think you have to play what's easy and what's effective right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think generally, like on LCS, it's only like one series a week. So you should at least try to win, I think. And then you have so many days of scrims, which you can just practice other stuff, which is maybe harder, maybe like less likely to win, and try and improve that instead.
And there's also the factor where, like, sure, you might be a top team, and so you might be okay playing more complex comps on stage, but there's also the option of just playing the simple one and practicing those complex comps in scrims, and then pulling them out for games that actually matter. So I don't necessarily think like you need stage practice with difficult compositions to play them effectively. You just need efficient scrim practice.
We heard a lot last year. Players and coaches were talking about how you could only get real practice on stage because scrims would just be like so bad. Like everyone would kill each other 20 times in 10 minutes and then just FF the game and go next. You guys obviously scrimming in Europe have been scrimming now for quite some time, and also scrimmed in Korea before in the off season. Is European scrim culture better now? Is it less 20 million kills and then FF?
Compared to before, yes. I actually think all the coaches, or most of the coaches that I've talked to, have made drastic changes to how the team, just practices overall and how on time they are for scrims. One thing that when we were in Korea was in my opinion, really effective was that between the two blocks there was a 2-hour break. So the second block always felt really effective because you had such a long time to reset. I think that's the only difference between Korea and EU in terms of practice. The second block still feels a little bit, out of sync because people are tired, and you can see that they're not making the best decisions, which they normally wouldn't. But overall, I think Europe's really stepped up this year for scrim culture overall.
Do you agree, Alfari?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really notice a big difference from this year and last year. Like, scrimming is still scrimming.
I mean, it's kind of good to hear that that's been an improvement.
Coach,
and also, I mean, it was a pretty large criticism. And do you have any thoughts onto like why has this changed? Is it just that all of Europe wants to level up and get better? Was this a conscious effort across teams, or is it just that as teams are improving, scrim culture is kind of improving along with them?
No, it was definitely a conscious effort. Like before the season started, all the coaches got together and we all talked about how we wanted to practice. So it was very much an active effort to try to improve everything, because last year there were definitely some complaints in terms of like either how on time teams were, or the tilt factor that some players would have. So there were issues with scrims, and I'm actually very impressed with the EU coaches this year. I think they've done an excellent job in elevating the scene.
So my kind of final question on this subject is, we have cross-group play coming up. You heard Quickshot mention it earlier, talking with Mithy, and I'm curious how that's going to affect you guys. I assume mostly scrimming outside your group for now. Is scheduling scrims just going to be a disaster? Do you guys already have planned who you're going to practice against? How does that affect your preparation?
In our case, going into the season, we made a goal, which was we'll scrim all the top teams that we can get, because for Misfits, the goal is to improve as much as we can in the regular season and then show up in playoffs. Now, maybe the goal is different for G2 or for Splice or these other teams that have different expectations than us. But for us, it hasn't really mattered too much. We're just looking to scrim all the top teams and then just performing on stage.
All right, and I kind of wanted to close out here. I want just some final expectations. We've had 3 weeks now. We're finishing up the first round robin. Of course, one more day of play left before we finish that out. How are we feeling about Europe overall as a region? Do we once again have these very secluded teams at the top? You know, is it very top-weighted like it was last season with H2K Splice? Do we expect it to stay that way? What are the feelings?
I don't think it's super top-heavy right now. I think Unicorns of Love, who is #1 in Group B, has definitely had extremely close games against a lot of the other teams in their group. And while they did win them, I don't think they're like way better than most of the other teams in that group. And I think Group A, while G2 is the best, it's somewhat the same. A little bit, I guess, G2 is slightly ahead of Unicorns in that regard. But I think we have a lot of very cool up-and-coming teams. And I mean, like, Misfits is one of them. I think, like, funny enough, Splice, even though they haven't changed anything, I'm expecting them to pick up the pace very soon. And then I think we might have, like, 5 potential top teams that can actually compete in playoffs and play some really competitive games.
Yeah. Exciting to see, too, because we've seen so many teams in the past be really exciting in the regular season and then not be able to kind of bring something to the table when it comes to best of 5 overall. And do you guys kind of echo Deficio's statement here? Do you feel like there's a lot of strong teams right now, or are you guys mainly looking at 1 or 2 at the top of the table?
I agree. Like, I think today's series in particular also showed that, you know, the difference between like the perceived top teams like H2K and G2 to like Vitality and Giants maybe isn't as big as people thought. Like before today, I definitely would have expected Giants to maybe take a game with G2, or for the series between H2K and Vitality to be so close. So I don't think the difference is as big as it might have looked.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty exciting to see. I love having a lot of top teams. I know, it's good. Good to get parity between the teams, parity between the groups. But, of course, thank you again so much, Daku, Alfari, for joining me. Deficio as well. I shouldn't thank you. This is your job. Thank me. I am not thanking you. All right, well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for coming. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central European Time, 7 a.m. Pacific for our friends across the Atlantic as the EU LCS 2017 Spring Play continues. See you then.
I really need to base now, and I'm so strong. I can kill everyone.
This is a fight on a million fronts. Nukeduck with a double on the back end. Nuclear Arcane Shift, but the shield explodes. Nukeduck and Joko ace H2K. Simply does not matter. Hachani will die as Vitality pick up game 1 against H2K.
Unless you get a gank.
Valkyrie away. Another undertow comes down, reckless swing, flash defensive, Featherbit's going low, Vitality get the kill. H2K take the first Nexus turret, take the second Nexus turret. Look at the player cams, it's all business, it's all focus. Yankos is a machine. There is no emotion at H2K even up the series. No flash for Yankos. Gonna be in trouble, Stand United, not available, and that's first blood for Nukeduck.
Wait, there's no Q assist on Febby.
Got him! Even with the fire flash, Feathervin's down. Longer, but not Nukeduck. That's Odo on the front line. The ultimatum comes down. It's enough to kill a support, but H2K take down Vitality.
H2K!
Hey, Daisy.
Hold on.
Daisy's done more damage.
All right, they're on
Memento.
2v2, but that's not enough. They get blown up right there.
Knocking the minions through, giving them the Baron buff. They've done it.
They've got it.
G2.
A perfect victory at 33-15. G2 Esports cleaning up. Okay, he's got the shield on him, but that's a lot of burst. They were still dishing out. Double knockup, Memento, in comes Flash just around the side. Looks for Sven, but he's not able to capitalize on it, and he's taken out before he can do a damn thing. Only smiting Daisy.
It's an all-or-nothing fight.
Oh, he's going in for Sven. Not gonna be enough. They turn on that, and the hero play goes south. Now Perks is gonna get a Stand United shield to turn the rest of them back to Fountain as Trick picks up a double here. Perks hanging tough. Not anymore. He's taken down, but G2 are gonna get the game. G2-0.
1, 2, 3.